What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Backstage with BeU. Today on the show, we have up-and-coming artist out of Stanhope, New Jersey, Ill Snek. How we doing today, man?
Hey, what's up? Doing pretty good, man. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. I know we got a lot of exciting things to talk about today, but let's first start off with your story, how you got into making music and all that.
Wow. Well, my mom actually is a professional singer. She's been a professional singer her entire life, including most of the time that I've been chilling on this planet. My is a professional guitar and bass player, and like a studio musician as well. So I've been in a live music environment since I was born. Essentially, I've been going to shows, whether it's been like my parents or like my parents' friends, since I was like 8 years old, and I've been even mixing, doing live sound mixing since I was like 10, 12. So I've just kind of grew up surrounded by it, and I've always been really close to everything, particularly singing them.
Right. So you've always been around it. That's pretty sick. That's pretty dope. So who would you say, your biggest musical influences are growing up and also right now, currently?
Wow. Well, as unorthodox as it sounds, I grew up listening to a lot of old school rock and heavy metal and stuff like that. So when I was really young, I listened to a lot of Black Sabbath and stuff. As I grew up, I started listening to more post-hardcore music, anywhere from Green Day and All Time Low to A Day to Remember and harder bands Bring Me the Horizon, or even, I don't know, I can go harder. Then I started listening to black metal. Right. But I think it was high school is when I started listening to I used to hate pop music and hip hop and really just mainstream music. I was super against it.
Right.
I think I started listening in high school. I started listening to rap music and pop music because I just fell in with a different group of people, and I finally was I started listening to Lil Uzi and Young Thug, and I was
yeah,
I think
this is pretty dope. Yeah,
it makes sense. I kind of, to be honest, I related trap music really heavily to heavy metal, the way that the music, they're very similar components if you break down the structure of a trap song and the structure of a heavy metal song.
Right.
Breakdown and a metal breakdown are the same thing, from a very technical perspective.
Right.
So it started to make sense for me, and from there I kind of just dove headfirst into it. And by the end of my freshman year, I was like, wow, I think I want to make this type of music, because I grew up thinking that I was going to be in a band. I always wanted to be screaming in a band. That was
exactly.
And I had been in bands at that point, but I just kind of hit me. So I dropped out of high school when I was 16. I got my high school diploma. I started going to college for a little bit at 16, and I decided that college wasn't really for me, and I just started making music in my basement on my MacBook, and it kind of just went from there. It sucked. I started studio hopping and learned my sound, and eventually it just kind of clicked, and I was like, wow, okay, I think I get this now. And I kind of, as far as sorry, that was a loaded question. I listen to so many people. As of right now, I listen to, I'm honestly going back, I'm listening to a lot of more trap stuff. This morning I was listening to Fetty Wap, but I have a lot of inspiration from early Uzi, just the energy of the I don't give a fuck kind of punk vibes mixed into music, and definitely have to pay homage to Lil Peep a little bit. Peep's definitely played a role in me refining some of this the sadder elements of my music making skills. He definitely taught me a lot. So R.I.P. the homie.
Definitely a Lil Peep influence in your style and whatnot.
Yeah, cool. I didn't like his music growing up. When I first was introduced to him, I didn't really like his music. I thought it was whack. And then I think I don't know. I heard eventually I just heard it enough times. I was like, shit, I think this is actually really different and cool.
Yeah, it's so different. I think that's what the coolest thing about him was. That is his music was just so different. It did mix that rap vibe with like that punk vibe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think he did it in a really interesting way that I don't think anybody is really gonna be able to mimic or copy. Just the blend that he had of like 2000s emo music with 2012 trap, like just like threw those things together. Like he
He made it work.
like 3 Days Grace mixed with like Gucci Mane. Like it just didn't even make sense.
Right, exactly, dude. So like unorthodox, but you made it super dope.
Yeah.
How old are you, by the way?
I turned 20 May 1st, so I'm 20 years old.
So since you dropped out at 16, so you've been doing this for 3-4 years, like.
Yeah,
Okay.
really officially, like I've been taking this very seriously for the past like year and a half, 2 years.
Right.
I started taking my career seriously before quarantine because I was supposed to be going on a tour, like a 5-city tour on the East Coast that ended up getting canceled, and because of COVID.
Yeah.
So when that, I just kind of took the time. I sat down. I just started writing music every day, and I linked up with people who heard my music and heard the stuff that I had been creating while I was in lockdown, and they were like, "Wow, we want to put money behind this."
Yeah, absolutely, bro. Do you plan to like have that tour again?
I don't work with those people anymore. It definitely, if anything, it probably worked out that that situation wasn't meant, because I'm at a different point in my career. Like at that point, I was like kind of like a nobody. I was just making stuff in my basement that like nobody heard. And like at this point, I just dropped my first release. We're just over 100,000 streams on Spotify, and we're kind of just building
a month and a half.
So that like I'm hoping this next release, my goal, I'd be happy if this hits like 250,000 streams within like a month or two. Like that would be really dope. I'm kind of just trying to build momentum off of each release. I have a show on I think it's July 23rd. I'm the opener for the show. It's in Asbury Park. I'm really excited about that.
In New Jersey?
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah, bro. That's so sick. Since you brought up like your song that you're gonna be releasing soon, you're releasing Sneakers that's dropping tonight. I don't know if this interview will be out before then, but he's dropping Sneakers tonight, June 4th. Can you tell us like a little bit about that song?
Yeah. To be honest, at first, when I first recorded it, I didn't like it. There was a couple people in my life that definitely were like, whoa, this is definitely a more like, because I make more pop. I try to like have more like a singing influence with my music. Lately, I've been trying to like, potential is I think you're kind of gonna see as I continue to drop music. I'm kind of leaning farther and farther away from like this from like a mainstream pop element, and I'm kind of leaning more into like these softer, slower vocals. But with this song, I wanted to throw that out the window for a second, and it's honestly just like a kind of a classic trap song. Like it's really just like I don't fuck, like blah blah blah. I'm on my own, like I'm on my own thing right now, kind of vibe. I wrote it one day, completely spur of the moment. I was just like listening to like a little Dirk beat or something. I was like, wow, okay. And I got into the studio. A friend asked me, he was like, yo, what do you want to work on today? I was like, I guess we'll work on this. And he pulled up the beat, and it kind of just poured out of me pretty organically. I started like yelling into the microphone, and that was the end of it.
Right, exactly, bro. That's super sick, man. I'm super excited for that. And Visual, you said, might be dropping in a week or something. So, maybe be on the lookout for that. So you said, your voice is kind of like this mix between like punk rock, pop, trap, like a combination of all these different influences. How would you describe your voice to someone who's never heard your music before?
Wow. That was funny. To be honest, I'm not sure. I'd probably relate my voice more towards if you're into like alternative music or like pop or punk music, especially from like the early 2000s like to now, you're probably really going to enjoy maybe not my most recent release, but I think my EP that's dropping, which I don't have an official release for yet, but I think that people are gonna really like to see the progression of what's going on as far as that, because I want to lean more into that. I love using like trap elements. I like putting like beats together and working on them. But I want to, as far as like vocally, I feel like honestly since Lil Peep, there hasn't really been anybody that's pushed to put something. When I listen to music lately, I'm hearing a lot of the same like tones, and a lot of people are using similar pockets and flows, and I love that because they're flows and pockets that I find interesting to enjoy too. I personally listen to it. But I want to hear something like a little bit different make it onto the radio. I want to hear somebody go a little bit farther to the left,
right,
and hear something just a little bit almost unorthodox to hear on a. I'm trying to keep. I want to see like how far I can push that envelope of like, should this have a trap hi-hats behind it right now or not?
Exactly. Yeah. So then I noticed about your voice is like I feel like at least in like your last release Potential, like I feel like it's like the very like refreshing and almost but similar very melodic trap tone to it, and then it also has that like nostalgic like 2000s punk rock feel to it as well. And I think that mix of that is like super unique, super interesting. Not anything that like that I'm used to hearing. You know what I mean? That's what I think like definitely sets you apart from, like you said, all the way going to the left and just pushing it a little bit, but still remaining in that.
Yeah, I feel like people my age have a lot of angst, and I feel like there isn't artists out right now, particularly like working in my age group that are really capturing that and capitalizing off of it. To be completely honest, I feel like it's an opportunity for everybody to enjoy themselves. I think the closest thing that we've seen to that this year in mainstream music has been Machine Gun Kelly's album, which did lean pretty far towards pop punk, but it was really pop punk.
Yeah, definitely.
So I don't know.
What do you think about that album? You like it?
I loved his album. I really, really did enjoy it. But again, that was more pop punk than I grew up listening to. Like that was like, well, Travis Barker worked on like the whole tape. It had a very Blink-182 feel to it.
Yeah.
Never like a huge Blink-182 fan, although like I have to, which people, I know that's gonna come out. People are gonna be like, whoa. I definitely, obviously, I pay homage and like I respect definitely what they've brought to the culture, because there's so like I wouldn't exist if Blink-182 didn't.
They've done a lot. Are you a Travis Barker fan?
Yes and no. I've heard a lot of really interesting things about him that I definitely will keep close to my chest, because I'm sure it's all controversy.
Yeah,
you hear
exactly.
famous people, but as far as a musician, bro, the guy's got chops. He's definitely a really, really person. That
I was wondering if you've heard of Stella with him and Kenny Hoopla.
I don't think I have.
Oh, dude, you'll fuck with it. It's dope. Instead of listening to it first, watch the YouTube music video. It's like this black and white, like they're all like rocking out, like it does a backflip, like it's super sick. I think you'll fuck with it.
That's definitely look at.
Yeah. So, what does your creative process look like when you're making music?
Wow. Well, it's kind of I'm in a bit of a process of changing right now, so I'm trying to figure out what that looks like right now too. To be completely frank, right now it's whenever I get free time in between, like running around talking to like wow, I'm really that's such a loaded question. I really just it's whenever I get the time to like sit with my thoughts and sit down, I'll try to just write just anything that I can think out. It doesn't even have to be like with a melody to it or have a beat. I'll just try to write whatever comes to my head, and then eventually that'll just give me enough to go off of as far as like, okay, so what do I want the song to be about? Like, what do I want the theme to be? Or because I used to just write things over beats. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I realize that when you're just doing things like that, if you take a step back and then you come back to it, you realize that like they're not always entirely cohesive projects. And I picking a theme or picking a direction of the song and like knowing what it is from the beginning helps kind of build a structured outline for what I'm writing about. So lately I try to keep things in line that way, so I'm not just writing like whatever comes to my head. I try to form like an outline out.
Absolutely, bro. No, it's super dope. It's a super dope way that you create your music. So you've been doing music for the past 3 or 4 years, taking it very seriously for the past year. What advice would you give to young artists starting out?
Well, wow. Probably to just keep going, like just consistency. The biggest thing, and I recently met some people that really hammered this like home with me, which is just consistent. It's consistency, just showing up. Like 90% of the job is showing up. Everything after that is like really small and really easy to fix. Like it's just, if you keep, like, even when it sucks, you show up when it sucks, then like you're already like, you're 90% of the way there. Just keep doing it, because it's gonna get worse. Like it's only going to get worse. And that, like, obviously, like, that almost sounds discouraging when I say it, but like if you can deal with that, if you can, like, if you get that through your head and deal with it, you can do anything, and you'll do it.
Absolutely, 100%. And to follow up with that, you said you've been taking music seriously for the past year. What advice would you give yourself a year ago from today?
Probably that same exact advice.
Same thing, be consistent.
Just because I wasn't consistent. I didn't wake up and think like, what can I do to be more successful as an artist and as a person? You got to put yourself first. I should honestly say a person and then an artist. Mm-hmm. Waking up and setting goals, even if they're stupid small ones, like I'm gonna like get my hair cut today, like, all right, but then like at the end of the day, did you go get your hair cut? Like, right. just keep like holding yourself accountable for like everything that you do in your life makes doing things feel more rewarding, and it just helps create accountability and structure in ways that can really change your outlook on and doing anything long term.
Yeah, absolutely, bro, 100%. And so the last question I have to ask you, bro, is what does your next year look like? If we were to sit down, next year, June 3rd, 2022, what would you want to be able to say that you accomplished in the past year?
Well, there's going to be an EP and most likely an album. A lot has to be figured out as far as an album. I got about 3, maybe 4 songs that I feel confident about being on the album that comes after the EP. So I'm hoping that by the time that the EP's been out for like a month or so, I'm going to be like wrapping up my albums. So that's probably the goal, is to get 2 projects out within by this time next year, right. Is to get projects out and to continue to make a dent on doing shows, because July 23rd is my first show.
Right.
That goes well, I kind of want to keep the ball rolling with that. I want to get booked at that venue again if possible, and then I want to look at other opportunities in the area and out of the area as I continue to grow as an artist, because I'm projected to do that.
Yeah, 100%. So we got exciting stuff. We've got sneakers dropping tonight. We've got a show in Ansbury Park July 23rd, and an EP and an album dropping in the next year. So really exciting stuff for you, man. I love your voice. I love your energy. I love everything about you, bro. And I wish you the best, and I appreciate you for coming on the show today, man.
Yeah, bro, of course. Thanks for calling me. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm here whenever.
Absolutely, bro. If you guys want to check out his music, look him up, Ill Snek, on Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere, and follow him on Instagram at Ill Snek, ILLSNEK. We'll catch you later, brother.
Peace, man. Have a good one.